Good morning, children. Uh, Today, we are going to have a quick revision on the chapter Life Processes. I am sure you have watched all the videos that I have sent, and I'm also sure you have read the notes that I have sent. So, what I will do in the next few days is I will divide this chapter into different parts, and I will be discussing or I'll be revising those parts with you. After that, I will be giving you some questions that you are going to solve, right? So, um, this chapter is all about life processes. Let us uh, get to know about what is life processes first. Okay, we know we are alive, or we can say that dog is alive. How do you come to know that it is alive? There are certain criteria which decides whether the dog is alive or not, whether you are alive or not, right? For example, for a dog to be alive, you will be seeing the dog is barking, okay, the dog is wagging its tail, the dog is running around, right? That is a criteria that decides whether the dog is alive or not, right? So the most important one, okay, whether, like, if we have to decide whether whether any particular entities is alive or not, is movement, right? So all living things, they will move except for plants, okay. Sometimes the movement is, they can move their body, and sometimes they can move from one place to another place. Also, there are certain movement, okay. For example, you will argue with me now that, but plant does not move. But do you think plant nothing is happening inside plant? Although we cannot see the movement, but inside the plant there is, absorption of water, right? Water is movement. There is movement of water from roots to the aerial parts of the plant, that is leaves and, flowers and fruits, right? And also, we cannot see, but then there is gases that is being absorbed. For example, carbon dioxide, the plant takes it from the environment, and they, send it to the leaves. So basically there's some movements is taking place. So the most important criteria about entity, okay, to decide whether it is alive or whether it is not, is decided by the movement, right? That particular movement can be, visible to us or cannot be. Let's say, for example, when we are sleeping, right, we don't move usually when we are sleeping, right? So, but then, do you really think that there is no movement taking place inside our body? If you are thinking like that, it is wrong. Although we may be sleeping, or we may be, you play those statue or whatever you play sometimes, you act like a statue. At that time, do you really think that no movement is taking place inside your body? No. Actually, movement is taking place inside your body. There are different activities that is taking place inside your body that decides whether you are alive or not. Okay. Now, so there are certain life processes. I'll tell you what do you mean by life processes. In order to be alive, your body needs some maintenance. Okay. So to maintain that this symbol or the status of being alive, there are different processes that occurs inside our body. Okay. Those processes we call it as life processes. These processes help us to be alive actually. What are these processes? Let's say first is movement, as I have already told you, that is changing place or position. The next is respiration. Respiration, I'll tell you one thing once again, although you must have known it, you must have studied respiration already, but respiration and breathing are two different things, already, right? Breathing is this external process, respiration is the internal process. It takes place in the cell, and it also, the main goal of respiration is to produce energy that we are going to discuss, revise it again. Okay, no worries about it. Then sensitivity. Sensitivity means when somebody come and touch you, you respond, right? You know what is happening in your surrounding. For example, now you must be studying, or you are all involved in your phone watching a video, and then your parent suddenly comes around, then you sense that they are coming around. That means you have certain sensitivity, right? Then growth. When you are growing, you were a baby, now you are grown up, right? Then reproduction. Living organism reproduce, right? Then excretion. Excretion, we excrete waste material, like the throwing out of urine from our body, sweating, right? And then nutrition. Nutrition, that means we consume food for our body, for maintenance, for energy, etc. So all these processes are to maintain the life. Okay, that all these processes we are going to discuss in this chapter. First, let's discuss today we will go through nutrition. Okay, we'll just do nutrition in plants today, right? What is nutrition actually? Why do we need nutrition? Because we need different nutrients. For what purpose? You must have already learned what are different type of nutrients. You must have learned in class 7 or 6, like that. We have carbohydrates, we have fats, we have proteins, and we have vitamins and minerals. Okay, all these we need to take it. We take it in the form of food, right? So the mode of taking food, we call it as nutrition. Okay, not only the mode of taking food, but then the body is going to use that food. That process we call it as nutrition, right? We are going to discuss the different types of nutrition. We have heterotrophic nutrition and we have autotrophic nutrition. What do you mean by heterotrophic? Heterotrophic means the organism does not prepare its own food, okay, but they depend on others for food, right? And autotrophic, auto means self. Autotrophic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which the organism prepares its own food. Okay, for example, let's take plant, right? Plant prepare its own food with the help of sunlight and carbon dioxide, right? So they are preparing their own food. So green plants comes under autotrophic nutrition. This mode of nutrition is called as autotrophic nutrition. And those organisms which whose modes of nutrition is autotrophic nutrition are called as autotrophs. Okay, or we also call it as autotrophic organism, but we term it as autotrophs. Green plants are autotrophs. Those organisms which contain chlorophyll, they are autotrophs because they can prepare their own food. Now let's go to heterotrophic. I already told you heterotrophic, they depend on autotrophs for food, right? We depend on plants for food, right? All our food come from the plants and animals, and those animals that we are consuming also consume plants. So basically we are dependent on plants for food, right? For example, you are drinking milk. Okay, milk is from another animal like cow. That cow depends on plants. So at the end, we can say we all depends on plants for food because we cannot prepare our own food, right? So heterotrophic nutrition can also be divided into three parts. Again, three types we have. One is saprotrophic nutrition. Saprotrophic nutrition means this organism, they depends on dead and decaying matter. Okay, like dead and decaying organic matter. For example, let's say fungi. Okay, fungi depends on, normally you go out, they will be growing on the dead log of wood, right? So they take nutrition from the dead animals or dead plants, right? So these organisms are called as saprotrophic. Then we have parasitic. Parasitic means these particular organism depends on other living organism. They live on other living organism for food. They literally live. For example, there are certain bacteria in our body which are living in our body and which are taking nutrition from us. Okay, those are called as parasitic organism. You must have heard about a plant called as cascata, which is also a parasitic plant. They grow on other plant actually, and they take the nutrition from that plant, right? And then parasitic plant, there are many other plants also, okay, and there are different bacteria. There are tapeworms which live inside the intestine of certain animals, right? So they live on the different organism. That different organism we call it as host, right? Then we have holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition, they consume complex food like us. They consume complex food which is broken down into by the process of digestion, and that product is being used later. So these are the three different types of heterotrophic nutrition. Now let's go to nutrition in plants. I have already told you, plants are autotrophs. That means they prepare their own food, right? So how do they prepare their own food? Okay, what is the process called as? You have been studying this since a long time. The particular process we call it as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is made up of two words, photo and synthesis. Photo means sunlight. Synthesis means, what is synthesis? Making. So light, with the help of light, they will be making of certain substances. What is the substances that we are going to study? Okay, so photosynthesis is nothing but it is the process by which plant prepare food by using what they use as raw material, carbon dioxide and water, okay, with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll. So if in exam the question comes, okay, what are the raw material required for photosynthesis? The raw material required is carbon dioxide and water. The same thing, when your mother is cooking something, what are the raw material your mother required? For example, if she's cooking biryani, or she's cooking, let's make a simple one, a tea. Okay, when she's making a tea, the raw material that is required are water. If you are making black tea, little water is required. Even if you are making milk tea also, milk, then tea, sugar. These are the raw material. Okay. Apart from this raw material, for example, if you have this raw material, can you make the tea? No. We need heat, right? So the raw materials, what is that? And with the help of heat and with the help of a vessel, the tea is being prepared. In the same way, plants will need raw material as carbon dioxide and water, and this happens in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Okay, and what food is made at the end of the day? Is it a tea or is it a biryani? No, it is a carbohydrate is made. Okay, which carbohydrate? A very simple carbohydrate is made, that is nothing but that is glucose. Later, glucose is stored in the plant in the form of starch. Okay, and in this process, what is released? Oxygen is being released. Okay, so that is the equation, that is 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. That is, it forms C6H12O6, which is glucose, plus 6H2O plus 6O2. And the process of photosynthesis, there are 3 steps. Okay, that is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. That is the first step. Then conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Then at the last, carbon dioxide is reduced to form carbohydrates. Now, whatever that is written in this page, the definition, the equation, and the process, this is very, very important for your exam. You have to learn this, okay? So this is a diagram to show photosynthesis, what is being formed. Sunlight, light energy, carbon dioxide, then sugar and oxygen is being formed. The reaction is given. So where does it takes place? Okay, it takes place in the leaves, right? So this diagram shows where does it takes place. There are, you see there are chloroplasts in the leaves. There are you can see this is a transverse section of a leaves, and you can see just a second. Okay, transverse section of the leaves, and you can see the stomata here. These are the walls here, and you can see there are a cell organelle inside the plant, that is chloroplast. Okay, inside the chloroplast only the photosynthesis takes place, because chloroplasts contain chlorophyll. So chloroplast is basically the kitchen of the cell, right? Now let's come to stomata. What is stomata? You can see in plant, in leaves, okay, there are small holes, pores present on leaves. Mainly these pores are more in the lower part of the leaf, okay. These pores are called as stomata. These pores are nothing but these pores, it's like a gate, okay. They keep on closing and they keep on opening. For if somebody comes, they'll open. If somebody goes, if nothing is coming, they'll close it. It's the same way it works as a gate, okay. They have, like the gate, they have guard cells. Like we have guards, no, in the gate. Like in the school, we have the guard which open the gate when somebody is moving. We close it when somebody is not coming, and it's closed when it is 8 o'clock, because he don't want anyone to get inside. In the same way, we have guard cells, okay. Guard cells, can absorb water. When guard cells absorb water, okay, it absorbs a lot of water, the cell becomes swollen and it opens, okay. We call it as the cell become turgid and it opens. When the guard cell, shrink, it become flaccid and it close. This is how the stomata works, okay. This is a, under the microscope you'll be able to see the stomata like this, okay. So you see, opening and closing of stomata, it takes place due to the change in the turgor pressure of guard cell. When the pressure of the water in the guard cell, during the day, water from the subsidiary cell enter the guard cell. When subsidiary cell means the cells around the guard cells, okay, from water from there comes to the guard cells, making the guard cells fully turgid and the stomata open. Fully turgid means fully swollen. Then during night time, the water from the guard cells will go to the subsidiary cells, and as a result, the guard cells will become flaccid. Flaccid means it will shrink due to decrease in the turgor pressure, and the stomata will close. Okay. This was how nutrition takes place in plants. Now a bit about how nutrition takes place in amoeba. Okay, a single cell organism. How nutrition takes place? Very easy. They have pseudopodia, right? So whenever amoeba, whenever they sense a food around them, what did it do is that their pseudopodia, the false feet, we also call it as, it extend, and it will surround the food, as you can see in the picture, okay. And then they will form a food vacuole, okay. Food vacuole is, the entire food will be surrounded by this pseudopodia, right. This inside the food vacuole, certain enzymes will be given by the cytoplasm of amoeba, and the food will be digested. Then the food will be absorbed by amoeba, and they'll use it. Whatever undigested part, they'll throw it again, right? So this is how nutrition in amoeba takes place. So we have discussed today nutrition in plants and nutrition in animals. I'll give you some questions that you are going to solve it. Please don't use internet, questions, answers Don't write answers from internet, because they give long answers which is not required and which you won't be able to learn. All the answers are there in the notes that I've given and in this PPT also. It is written very, very clearly. So you can write directly from here. I'll give you some questions. Please solve those, okay?